What's up, guys? The Snowman here. Happy to be back and talking tennis again. Today I've got my Indian Wells men's draw preview. I'll produce a women's draw preview for Miami in a couple weeks, so be on the lookout for that as well. But focusing on the ATP today, and so much has happened since the Aussie Open. We've got a new world number one on the men's side. We've got a new leader in all-time Grand Slams. This is the first time that Indian Wells is taking place in its usual March since 2019, so very excited to break down this 96-player men's draw. A few stars out of this event: world number 2 Novak Djokovic technically in the draw, but it doesn't appear he'll end up playing, as he would need CDC approval to enter the United States. We'll see how it shakes out over the next 48 hours. If you didn't know, the Serbian remains the only player in the top 100 not to be vaccinated. Unfortunately, Roger Federer is still rehabbing from knee surgery. Won't see him until maybe late summer, and Dominic Thiem expected to return to the European clay courts next month, but as of right now, Domi's still out with the wrist injury. Let's pull up the draw now, starting off in the top quadrant where the brand new world number 1 presides, Daniil Medvedev. The Russian is the first new player to earn the top spot in the rankings since Andy Murray back in 2016, and more impressively, Medvedev the first non-Big Four player to be the world number 1 since Andy Roddick over 18 years ago. That certainly speaks to the dominance of Fed, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray. Medvedev also the tallest player ever to be number 1 at 6'6", and he's the 6th oldest player to reach number 1 for the first time in their career. So Medi, a somewhat late bloomer at age 26, but that's the way the game's been heading. Medvedev has been stellar in 2022 so far, 12-2 in his last 14, but those two losses come to the same man, Rafael Nadal, who we'll speak about shortly. Of course, the Aussie Open final will have left a sour taste in the Russian's mouth, losing that 2-set lead. And here's a fun stat about Medvedev. We know how strong he's been at the hardcourt Masters events late in the year. In fact, over the past 3 seasons, Med is 34-5 at those tournaments. So I'm talking about Canada, Cincy, Shanghai, Paris. 34-5. However, he's never even made a quarterfinal at Indian Wells. I don't know if that's because of the slower conditions or what. Hasn't played great in Miami either, so we'll see if that changes, but it is a brutal draw for Medvedev. He's not going to want to see a rejuvenated number 26 Gael Monfils in round 3. That could produce some long, extended rallies. Also, the 18-year-old Carlos Alcaraz keeps breaking records left and right. He could play Med in the 4th round last month in Rio. The Spaniard became the youngest to win an ATP 500 level event. Nobody's breaking serve at a higher rate than him this season. Number 15 RBA nearby too. Number 12 Cam Norrie has been rock steady over the last year, the defending champ here at Indian Wells. Of course, it was played in October last year, so a very quick turnaround, but Norrie has looked great lately. Title in Delray Beach, final appearance in Acapulco. Got to watch his semifinal win over Tsitsipas, where Norrie just remained the calmer of the two in the bigger moments. Used some looping forehands to probe Stefanos into untimely errors. 8 wins in a row before that final defeat to Rafa. There's nothing really spectacular about Norrie's game, but such consistent flat backhands, a solid mover, definitely comfortable on these courts. And speaking of number 5 Tsitsipas, he's the other top seed in this loaded first section, and the numbers look decent for the Greek this year. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, Steph just 3-4 against top 30 players. He was also ousted by world number 163 Roman Safulin last month, so form seems a little sloppy. I know Tsitsipas had that comprehensive victory over Sinner in Melbourne to make the semis, but compared to last year where he was shot out of a cannon, the epic Aussie Open comeback versus Nadal, a scintillating clay court season culminating in a near Roland Garros triumph. This season just seems eerily flat for the 23-year-old, so I'm very eager to see how he comes out in the desert. Expect fireworks all over the board in this first section. I think Alcaraz can give Med a real run for his money if he gets by Bautista Agut. Moving over to section 2, where I've officially run out of ways to describe the 4-seed Rafael Nadal's form in the year 2022. This guy is 15-0, his best start to a season ever. 3 tournaments played, 3 titles. He won the Melbourne Tune-Up, then Grand Slam number 21 at the Aussie Open. A couple weeks ago, another title in Acapulco. That was number 91, the 4th most ever in men's singles history. I mean, it's actually inexplicable that Nadal is playing this well, coming off a serious foot injury. He's already beaten Medvedev twice, Berrettini, Shapovalov, Norrie. Rafa is so far ahead of everyone else in the 2022 Race to Turin rankings, over 1,000 points ahead of Medvedev, and his movement could not look any better. So sharp, every ground stroke looks crisp. Somehow, when most players are well into enjoying their retirement, Nadal has come back with even more motivation and a new fire in his eyes. It's honestly astonishing, and this is all happening pre-clay court season 2. Once we get to April, watch out even more. I know it's going to end at some point because we're experiencing it right now with Federer. The end is finally near for him, but as a neutral observer of Nadal for most of his career, I don't think we can give him enough credit for how he started this season. It's been a privilege to watch. That being said, not a fun draw for Rafa. Could be Sebi Korda in the second round. Dan Evans in round 3. Denis Shapovalov came oh so close to taking him out at the Aussie Open. Dennis could be awaiting in the round of 16. Number 10, Jannik Sinner in this section 2. He's been hitting the ball with consistent depth, closing to the net well, 11-2 on the season. At the bottom, we've got Casper Rood, the 8 seed, coming off another clay court title in Buenos Aires a month ago. And just a few rows above Rood, the wild card, Nick Kyrgios. Last time we saw Keegs on the court, he was winning his first career major, that Aussie Open doubles championship, with his good mate, Thanasi Kokkinakis. Kyrgios posted that he was practicing with Naomi Osaka a couple days ago. Wish I could have been a fly on the wall during that session. Overall, though, this section 2, another loaded quarter, but Rafa just on a different level than everyone else. Leading the way in the third section is the 3 seed at the bottom, Alexander Zverev. I'm a little disappointed the ATP didn't take much action after Zverev attacked the chair umpire, resulting in his disqualification in Acapulco. No suspension was given. Instead, Zverev will be on probation for 12 months, where any kind of future misconduct will activate a suspension, but I felt the punishment was a bit lighter than the crime, especially given the German's off-the-court record. I thought he should have been suspended for at least a month or so, but he is here at Indian Wells with a lot to prove. I don't know if he's going to be in the best headspace. Could be a fellow ATP Finals champ, Grigor Dimitrov, in the second round, although Zverev has defeated the Bulgarian the last 3 matches they've played. That first rounder between Grigor and Tommy Paul should be fun. Similar playing styles, 2 of the real showmen on the tour. I really love this draw for the number 9 seed, Felix Auger-Aliassime. There's a tremendous weight off of his back, winning that first career ATP title last month in Rotterdam. Auger-Aliassime was 0-8 in his first 8 tour level finals, but FAA said enough is enough. He rolled past Tsitsipas in Rotterdam, called it the happiest day of his career, and his first 2 months of 2022 have been exquisite. FAA winning the ATP Cup with Team Canada. He leads the tour in overall wins this season with 15, looking very strong, playing aggressive. Hopefully he can steer clear of the mental hurdles that have plagued him in the past, and I think he's the biggest winner of this draw, especially with the health of number 6, Matteo Berrettini, in question. Berrettini made the semifinals at the Aussie Open, but just 2-4 combined elsewhere in 2022. Bad news for him in Acapulco, where he had to retire mid-match against Tommy Paul with an abdominal injury that caused him issues last season too. So I actually see the number 9 seed coming out of this third section. Give me a FAA to make the semifinals. Finally, in our fourth quarter, I'm not going to harp on the 2 seed at the bottom, Novak Djokovic, too much. Like I said before, I'd be shocked if he ends up playing this event. If anything, it's just creating unneeded drama for this great tournament. I wish everything was squared away, but I'm going to assume that Novak not present in the Californian desert. Who's going to benefit the most from that? Well, there's a few players who will like this draw, assuming Djokovic remains absent. The first of which is Andy Murray, given a wild card for Indian Wells. A 2-time champ here in tennis paradise. Murray aiming to get back into the top 50, and this draw is looking very open for him. I could see the Brit making it all the way to at least the quarterfinals. Number 23, John Isner, always a threat on North American hard courts. Then we also have to talk about number 11, Huby Hercach, and number 7, Andrei Rublev. They just played an encapsulating match in the Dubai semis a couple weeks ago. Ended up going to a third set tiebreaker with Rublev winning. I find Hercach to be one of the most difficult players to put a finger on what his form is going to look like week to week, but he's serving extremely well right now, especially when Hercach gets the first serve in. Very high percentage 1-2 tennis. On the other hand, Rublev has been scorching hot over the last month. 9 wins and counting, another 500 level trophy in Dubai. That was a very fun tournament. Rublev notching the aforementioned comeback win over Hercach in the semifinals. Showed some real grit there, and then defeating the Cinderella man, Jiri Vesely, in the final. And I like how passionate Rublev's been on the court. You can tell he's no longer content with just being a top 8 player and making the quarters of majors. He's desperately craving a first career Masters 1000 title after 2 finals finals last season in Monte Carlo and Cincy. Francis Tiafoe could be tricky in the third round for Rublev. Big Foe has the forehand weaponry to hang with Rublev, but the Russian has to be pleased with this draw. Really, all the top seeds in the bottom half should be happy. Zverev, FAA, Berrettini as well. I've got Rublev coming out of this section, and as for the tournament as a whole, bet against Rafa at your own peril. He does such a great job of mixing things up against Medvedev, whereas Djokovic gives him a steady dose of flat, deep balls. Rafa gets creative, uses angles, pulls Medvedev forward. It's like the Russian is playing checkers, but Nadal is playing chess, so hopefully we see that matchup again in the semifinals. That would be a third clash of this year, and I think that Rafa is the man to beat in the desert over these next 2 weeks. Thanks a lot for watching my Indian Wells ATP preview. Please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media if you want more tennis content and preview videos. As I said before, be on the lookout for my Miami preview in a couple of weeks as well. Leave a comment. Let me know who you think is going to do well in tennis paradise. Who do you think wins this tournament? Otherwise, I'll be back very soon with more. Thanks a lot. Cheers.